Hello, I'm George Cairns, and in this video lesson we're going to use Digital Photo Professional 4, that's Canon's free image editing software, to crop a shot and improve composition. I've created a before and after version to show you the difference cropping can make. Here's our start image. You can see there's lots of underexposed areas down here which might be a bit of a faff to lighten up properly, and there's also some distracting bits of street furniture, signs, and this little lamp up here as well. So in the after version we've got a much cleaner composition. We've got the old and the new with a reflection joining the two together, and the building's much more prominent as if we've used a zoom lens, and that's all down to the cropping or trimming tool in Digital Photo Professional 4. Now, Digital Photo Professional 4 will only work with a certain range of cameras, so I've used a Canon 760D to generate the source file for this tutorial, and that's called cropstart.cr2. So once you've copied that onto your computer's hard drive, browse to it in this folder window here, and you'll see it in the Digital Photo Professional 4 window. We can then click Edit Image to access the tools that we need. I'm just going to turn clipping off for the moment, because what we're going to do is focus on cropping before we adjust colors and tones, because that means we don't spend ages adjusting colors and tones in areas that are going to be cropped out anyway. Now, before I continue with the cropping, here's a very good tip. You'll notice that if we go to the lens correction panel here and go down to distortion, let me just click here. Watch this little area here that I'll actually adjust when I click distortion. Click. It's got rid of the slight curve produced by the lens, and that's changed the composition of the photograph. So it's important to do this type of correction first of all before you start to crop the photo. So this is what my start image looks like. Once I've counteracted the distortion, I can now pop up to the cropping window, which is this one here. Click to select that, and the first thing to consider is the shape of the crop window that you're going to create. Now, by default, you might find that it's set to free, which means you can click and drag in the window and produce a crop of any shape and size, like so. But you'll probably want it to be a more constrained shape that will suit the original shape of the photograph and make a more conventional size print. So I'm going to change this to 3:4 to get a shape like this, which suits the portrait orientation of my subject matter. Now, when we drag a handle in the corner there, it's constraining it to a 3:4 shape, whatever we do. And you can see outside the crop window, it's slightly darker, so you can see which areas are going to be removed. You can make that even darker by going to this area here and just dragging this slider to the right. And that makes these areas outside a little less distracting, and you can focus on the areas inside. This mesh is enabling you to get the verticals looking vertical and the horizontals looking horizontal, but it might be a little bit too distracting. So we go to grid pitch and drag that to the right. We can make the mesh a little bit larger and see the contents more clearly. Now I can drag inside the window to recompose it. I'm just going to go up there and lose this sign, or this light rather, at the top, and I can then click and drag to fine tune the position just to lose this bit at the bottom. You can see the vertical line of the cathedral is slightly tilted compared to the verticals in the grid. So if I go to the outside of the box here and drag, you can see there's a rotate icon. I can make sure that the lines are now running parallel with the lines of the grid and the lines of the cathedral. Don't be confused by this tilted line here. The building itself is actually tilted, which is why the lines aren't running parallel with the lines of the grid. And you'll notice we've rotated the shot there, so we've got some black areas around the edge of the original frame, but these are going to be cropped out anyway to create our tighter, zoomed in composition. Now, when I drag outside of the crop window to rotate it, you'll notice the angle slider will change and the value in this little box will change as well. So you could rotate things by dragging this slider or typing in values into the box, or even tapping up or down using these little arrows to fine tune the straightness of your vertical lines. And when we drag the corner handles here to resize our crop window, you'll notice that you get a new width and height value. And again, you can type in values to get precise resized images if that's important to you. X and Y just describe the position of the crop box as you slide it around in the recomposed frame. And the center on screen button does what it says on the tin and places the crop window bang in the middle of your photograph, and you can then drag it into position as desired. Now, the brilliant thing about cropping is it's non-destructive. You can see a preview of the crop window in the navigator, but we can also see that in the big window here by clicking on any of the other palettes, such as the basic palette, and there is our cropped shot. And if we find it's a little bit too tight, perhaps, we can go back to the crop palette and then continue to adjust the crop just to get a little bit more space there to bring in a little bit more of the edge of the reflection. Click again on the basic panel, and there's our recomposed shot, but we've got a little bit of that sign at the top there. So again, I'm going to go and just drag that down a little bit now to fine tune things once again. Back to basics, and there's my recomposed image. And once we've decided what our composition is going to look like, we can then fine-tune problems with lighting. Let me just turn on the clipping warning. And then what I'm going to do is just take this slider here to the right to reduce the strength of the whites. I can drag highlight to the left there as well to get rid of the clipping even more. And we can also increase contrast a little bit for some blacker blacks and some whiter whites without clipping anything. And I also want to boost color saturation too to create more vibrant looking colors. I can very quickly just slide up to here and boost the strength selectively of the blue saturation and the aqua just to give the sky a little bit more impact. So there's our cropped and adjusted photograph in Digital Photo Professional 4.